At night time when all the damage already done. Oh, the damage already done. Stop and listen now.
Good evening and welcome once again to Plain Talk. Thank you for sharing your next hour with us. My guest, as you would have expected from last week, is Mr. Ramon Gaskin, who had indicated on that occasion that he was exploring the possibility of inquiring into the likelihood and the feasibility of maybe launching an organization, whether for political purposes or similar objectives. So, Raymond, thank you for joining us once again, and welcome to Plain Talk.
Thank you for having
Now,
me.
we are close to tomorrow. You have this event at the Critchlow Labour College, the auditorium at the Critchlow Labour College. You will be making a presentation, I understand, of approximately half an hour. What's the objective? What do you hope to achieve tomorrow?
What we hope to achieve, we want to inquire as to whether there is enough support for the idea of a next political organization in this country, besides those that we have. As you know, we have two big political parties here, and we have some smaller parties. Some of the smaller parties are in the government now, the present government, and there are some other small parties that are not in the government. And we believe it would be a good idea to put forward some ideas on the next political organization and to see what people think about that. We generally believe that it's good we should have many political parties, not just two big ones. Like a place in Israel which has proportional representation, there are about 23 parties there in the place. And I think it's a good thing. We need to have many more parties, small, medium, and large, and give the electorate greater opportunity to choose among them and to present to the people of this country a variety of different views on what could be done about this place, how we see development, and how we view the world. And for that reason, we need many flowers, as they say in the Chinese proverb about letting 100 flowers bloom. We need many more parties with different views.
You recognize that the government is a coalition. The APNU plus AFC is the name, but the APNU itself is made up of the PNCR, WPA, the Justice for All Party. Is the Justice for All Party part of the APNU?
Yeah, it's considered that.
So you got about 8
parties in the area
on the side of the government. You've got the TUF, you've got the PPPC. So you're talking about 10 political parties. Why does Guyana need any more political parties?
Well, coming to the group there in what is called the APNU, those parties are not really, I don't think they represent anybody much. The WP is in there. I don't know how much support they have, but they haven't been doing any political work recently. The Justice for All Party is a television program. The NFA, which is headed by Minister Keith Scott. I'm not aware they have membership and so on, but we don't know about that. And then you have the GAP. Now
which is headed by
Mr. Ali Koch,
yes.
I think. But the PNC dominates the thing there. For all practical purposes, I would say it's all PNC. Now you have the AFC. The AFC was created, we know, many years ago by some people from the PPP, the PNC too, Mr. Trotman, and the WPA, Ms. Holder, and they created that party, and they did achieve some kind of success at the polls. At the beginning, I think they had 7 seats, I don't remember now, and then later they got some more support, and they decided to, while in opposition, to bring this motion against the government of no confidence under 106, and we know what
That's
happened.
106 of the Constitution.
So they're a reasonably sized party. I don't know now what's the real strength of the AFC. We wouldn't know that. And if I think the last occasion they ran with the PNC, it's difficult to know what's the strength of the AFC. Many people believe they've lost support over the years. Then you have.
Do you believe that?
I believe they've lost some support over the years, especially the Nagamotu thing there. At the beginning, they had a lot of support in women, Berbice. I'm not sure if that is there still. And then you have the PPP, which is a big party. It's been around a long time, as you know. And the PPP is campaigning now, started the campaign very aggressively for the next elections. I assume that's what they're campaigning for. So you have Mr. Jagdeo there on the hustings campaigning for the next election, I believe. So that's what you got.
So what does that have to do with, how do you see that providing either a need or an opening for a new political entity?
Because when we look at Guyana, we have to look at Guyana now, I would say from independence. From independence, 51 years, and to really review the performance of these, the PPP and the PNC, I would have to say that much more could have been achieved over the years. And
but would that be true of any organization or any government?
That may be true, but that's one of the factors that would promote others or instigate others to come forward. Because I think they failed. They failed essentially. If you start quickly with the PNC since 64 to 85 with Mr. Burnham, who tried many things, including socialism and cooperative socialism and things of that nature. And then you have Mr. Hoyt from 85 to 92, who dismantled all of that. In comes the PPP, which had a reputation of being a socialist party at one time. In comes the PPP to continue the Hoyt program of structural adjustment and so on, abandoning everything that they'd ever believed in or they had claimed to have believed in, and they've been running the thing for 23 years, during which time you had very little progress, in my opinion. You had a large degree of an illegal economy, a criminalized sector of the economy, and things of that nature, which we know about. I would consider them, they failed. They never did what they said they would do. They never did what they said they would do, especially Jagan when he took over as president in 92 and he had a lot of power. Instead, he decided to pursue and continue the policies of Mr. Hoyt.
And the IMF.
And the IMF. Although he had opposed them ferociously while in opposition. So that's what you got for the last 51 years.
Yeah, but if you look at it objectively, and what you say may all be true, but the people resoundingly, and without any aberration, without any deviation, continue to vote for these parties that you're saying, those parties which have led every single government since independence. The people keep supporting them.
The people keep supporting them for a variety of reasons. You know, in America, there's a two-party system there too, more or less, Democrats and Republicans, and they keep supporting them. And in Guyana, there's good reason why a lot of the people who support PNC and PPP support those parties, and historically, and that the two big parties, they have a certain base of supporters, and you really can change that. And in our system here, because of the multicultural nature of the society, and the split in the movement and so on, and all that happened since then in the 50s, we have these two big parties which enjoy a lot of support, much of it justified, among large sections of
well, if much of it justified, then what's wrong with why do you need a new party?
Why do you need a new party? You need a new party. There's a good reason why people support PPP and PNC.
And that they've been doing so since
it doesn't
past
mean
51 years.
It doesn't mean
since independence.
Well, you know, since the Second World War in Venezuela, they've been supporting Acción Democrática and COPE, but Chavez was still able to come forward there in a situation and encourage people to support him. Although traditionally, for 70 years, they've been supporting the traditional parties in Venezuela. And if you look at Macron in France, he's a recent addition to the political spectrum, and he came forward, he presented his ideas, and a lot of people felt they should support him. So it is possible that even though you have a lot of support, and for good reason, it doesn't mean that you couldn't convince some people of the need to make a change. It doesn't mean you can defeat these big parties. These are big parties. You're not going to be able to replace them and defeat them so easily. But the guy did come on the scene, but you had PNC, PPP, and he got some support, and he made a big difference in my opinion. The AFC came on the scene, and you had the PPP and the PNC, and they were able to get some support, and they made a difference. So I would say that it is possible that new parties could come forward and also make a difference. We'll have to see that. We'll have to see.
Well, you've identified two, the AFC and the TUF or the UF.
The UF.
As it was first known. You've also said that both of these have now lost, well, the UF and later the TUF lost substantial support. I don't think it's represented in the National Assembly now.
No, it isn't.
The AFC had a good run, but as you said, they seem to have lost
some support.
Their glow. They've lost their support. So third parties have not had. The WPA once thought that it would be for the 1992 elections. Just thought it would be the party. It actually thought it could form the government.
Is that right? I wasn't aware of that.
Well, it will be. The third parties don't seem to have a longevity about them.
Well, it depends a lot on what you do to determine how long you're going to be around. The UF at the end ended up with one seat, and they joined the PPP, and I think that was the end of them.
No,
they came aboard.
The GAR-UF, that wasn't.
No, the GAR-TUF went with the PNC.
Yes.
In '64, and then subsequently, when it lost a lot of support, it was down to one seat, I think. The PPP took the UF aboard.
So the point I'm making that they don't seem to have a permanence about them.
It depends on how it's. I don't know if it's a permanence or a temporary existence, but small parties can exist if you continue to do your work. The UF never continued to do any work, as far as I'm aware. I don't know what work the AFC does in opposition. You have to do political work to survive now in this situation here.
You have to do political work. You also have to have the resources to do political work. How does and I don't want to personalize it unless you yourself say it, that you are in fact launching a political party. You keep saying that these are exploratory initiatives.
Yeah, these are exploratory things.
And how do you, first of all, you have to have ideas, you have to have resources. Let's talk about them in that order if you wish. What ideas do you bring that these two behemoths, the juggernauts, don't already offer? They've offered socialism, they've offered capitalism, they've offered all kinds of things.
Oh, well, right now, the two of them are offering a model, a so-called model of development that's based on capitalism, I would say. It's based on foreign exploitation of the resources of this country. And that's what you got with the two of them. Essentially, the two of them now hardly disagree on models. Both of them embrace the same type of capitalist model and foreign capital, and doing everything to encourage foreign capital and local capital too. And they've moved away from anything that is socialistic in nature. They've even moved away from cooperatives, I would say, and they're embarked on a different model of out-and-out capitalism. And the PPP recent incarnation from '92, they had even created in a large way a business class that was involved in criminal activity. I think we know that, in the parallel economy, the underground economy, which Thomas called the criminalized sector of the economy. I think that sector of the economy...
Let's get this clear.
Yeah.
Not every parallel
is criminal.
Is criminal.
Not every parallel is criminal.
One needs to make that distinction.
Not every parallel is criminal, but a lot of those in the legal also function in the illegal. So the model of development they have pursued, in my opinion, the model has not led to the development of this country. We have people leaving the place all the time. Nobody wants to stay here if you can get a visa to go some other place. We know of the...
In some cases, would you say that part of that is driven not only by the economic factors, but by other factors?
Plenty other factors.
Political, ethnic, whatever.
Family and all that.
Plenty of that. Yes. The family pull, the push and the pull.
The push and the pull. But I think if you really were to look at Guyana and the population internally and the population externally, I don't know if anybody has done a survey of that. We have a lot of our people outside.
Yeah, but that's not, you're not going to make a difference for those people out there.
No. We're not making a difference for those people out there. We don't believe. There's a lot of talk about diaspora. We don't believe essentially the diaspora would come back to Guyana to contribute in any way. Few of them might come, but generally speaking, they're settled over there, and they're settled with their family and their children in school and college and mortgage and job and all, and they're not coming here. And we should accept that.
Well, we spent about a week extolling the virtues of the diaspora, and then nothing has happened.
I don't subscribe to that at all. I don't think anything will come out of it. I don't think anything will come.
But
we don't believe anything will come out of that.
Now, tell me.
And there's a lot of talk now. I think David Hines was promoting that idea, but the overseas vote once again, which is something he had written about a couple of weeks ago, to get them to vote.
You know, all these people who talk about the overseas vote, would they be prepared to pay for overseas taxes to Guyana? Do you want... Now, you know, was it Abraham Lincoln who said no taxation without representation? But here we seem to want representation without taxation.
No, what we want is, we don't want representation without taxation or taxation without representation. We want to get electoral advantage. We're looking for electoral advantage in the overseas vote. That's what they're looking at. That's all they're looking at. If you could get more votes out of there, it could be a useful thing. That's what they're looking at. They're not looking at anything else.
Now, you've said that the two major parties, or the ruling group, the ruling coalition, and the PPP, they really, you hardly can see what is different. As a matter of fact, you wonder what kind of policies they have. Ideology is no longer a word.
No, that's correct.
No underpinning of a particular philosophy.
But that has been so since '92, because Jagan came to power with all this all-powerful presidency, with ideology and philosophy and all of that, and all of that went through the window on the first day.
So you're saying at least Hoyt was honest?
No,
he overturned everything that his president did.
Oh, but the problem with Hoyt is that when he was there, sitting in the cabinet with Burnham, I'm gathering that he supported Burnham while he was there all the time. And when Burnham shut his eyes in '85, then he proceeded to upturn everything. But I'm sure while Burnham was alive, he supported Burnham's policy. I'm sure he did.
That could be tactical.
I don't know if it's tactical. Well,
the results show that he clearly did not. He He overturned it.
He overturned it. He overturned it.
That's the bottom line.
Like how Gorbachev upturned everything in the Soviet Union when he became president, and
Perestroika you're talking about?
He upturned everything. Upturned everything, and it collapsed. So Hoyt upturned everything. Hoyt would be in my books like the Gorbachev of Guyana. He upturned everything.
Do you say that as a compliment or as a criticism?
I say that is what actually happened.
But do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing?
For Hoyt to overturn Burnham. Well, Hoyt in 85, when Burnham died, and the country was, I think, in a particular financial situation, he sought a way out of it by going to the international financial institutions, and the rest is history. They told him what needs to be done if he needed help, and he was willing to do it. He was willing to do it. I don't think he's a big ideological man. He was not a big socialist. He's not a big capitalist either. He came from the middle class, and he was not strong ideological, but he upturned it. He overturned it.
Apart from
he set the road, the country, the economy, on an upward trajectory, I think.
Now, Hoyt, of course, is known for more than that. Yes, he reversed the policies of owning the commanding heights of the economy. Feed clothes and house had been kind of partially suspended, but he really turned everything upside down. He upended everything.
Yeah.
More than that, the most significant contribution may have been some of the concessions that Hoyt made in terms of the electoral system. Would you agree?
In which year?
In 92.
In 92, 1985, in the 85 elections, Hoyt rigged the election more than Burnham ever did.
Yes, we don't. Yes.
So we don't forget that.
That's correct. That's correct.
A lot of what
I think he got 80-something%.
Yeah. But a lot of what he did there was dictated by the foreign people who were coming to help financially. A lot of it is dictated by foreign people. It's not just he got up one morning and decided, look, I'm going to get rid of overseas voting, I'm going to get rid of proxy voting, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. No. A lot of it came from those people who came in here to help revive the economy.
You say a lot of it. Are you shortchanging the contribution made by the civil society in Guyana? GUARD, for example. You recall GUARD, the Electoral Assistance Bureau.
Yeah,
the work of the PCD.
There were people who were struggling.
The work of the WPA.
A lot of people were struggling for democracy, for free and fair elections and all of that throughout that entire period. But a lot of what the government did, was dictated to them by foreign. Too. And you can say that of Burnham too. The whole thing of bringing in the PPP elements like Chandy Singh into the government and Halim Majid and Vincent Tika, a lot of it came from the friends in the East who told them what they think should be done. So both of the men did the same thing, and Jagan himself too, when he came to power, he created the civic.
My view, Raymond, and I'll tell you why in a minute. My view is you're overstating the position of the people from abroad. Yesterday, I was doing some research at the National Library, and I had to read all the newspapers for 91 and 92, 1991 and 92. And Carter's right-hand man, Pastor, I think was his call, Pastor left Guyana and said, look, there is no hope, that nothing is going to happen. And it was the persistence of the democratic forces in Guyana. Hoyt did make concessions, but very incremental, and said, I recall one of the newspapers, Professor Messiah, said there is no way constitutional elections can be postponed. And of course the elections were postponed.
Yeah, Hoyt postponed them for 2 years. It took 7 years.
Because persons were saying, look, we have to fix the list, We have to fix the system. We have to fix this question of counting of the
Yeah.
ballots.
I
I don't think you're giving enough
Yeah, but
recognition to the democratic forces.
there were a lot of people here who were fighting for free and fair elections. There are a lot of people here. The GUARD group, the WPA, a lot of groups, the PCD, the Tennessee
TUC.
Party, the
The
TUC, a lot of people were fighting for it.
Polydor.
Yeah, a lot of them were fighting for free and fair elections. And they got the elections. They
So
got the elections.
they have abandoned ideology. They've abandoned. For
The
example,
two big parties you're
the two
talking
big
about?
pol-
Yeah,
yes. Do you know we don't have a policy for exploitation of our petroleum resources?
We may not have a policy on petroleum. I think they have a good idea of what they want with petroleum.
Where they have that idea?
Well, we see it manifested in, for example, in the agreement they're willing to sign with the foreign petroleum people. But coming back to natural resources,
So you're suggesting that the policy is to allow foreigners to take whatever they want?
yes, since Barnum died, yes, which has to do with Barama, it has to do with bauxite, Rusal, bauxite, Lim, all of that, coming right away down from 85 right up to now. That's the policy to give away the natural resources to the foreign people.
Both by the
PPP
current administration
and
the PPP administration.
Yes.
Now, the people, the voters
And
don't
because of this false idea that these foreign people could come in and help develop a country and bring prosperity to you. And the biggest protagonist of that ideological position, of course, false as it was Sam Hines. He believed in that, and he fought ferociously for those ideas when he was in government with Jagan.
But okay, let's.
And now we have the same thing.
Whether it's Sam Hines
And all of them, they're all the same.
or
Jagdeo,
David Granger,
Jagdeo,
Truckman.
Truckman, the whole works. The whole set
Now,
of them.
the people seem to be very happy, or at least not concerned about those issues.
I'm not aware that I've said where the people are happy about those issues.
I said that's why I changed myself. They're not concerned. They don't seem to be particularly concerned.
The people of this country, most of them are concerned with making a daily living and getting a job and paying their
So
bills.
that's why we-
So all these big, heavy ideological things, you have to take the big ideological people to come and explain these things in simple language
who
to
are these
ordinary
big-
people.
who are
We'll
these big
find people to explain them.
Who are
We'll
these
find-
big
but-
ideological
but
people?
most of the ordinary, the working people of this country who are struggling to make a living when the day comes can't really sit down.
But they are the voters.
They're the voters. That the time will come when they'll get a chance to weigh all those things. But they cannot sit down whole day and study all this ideological thing.
So who's going to study it for them?
The ideological people, those who want to do political work and ideological work, they have to do it and break it down and explain it to these
Do
people.
you see anyone?
Who can do that work?
No. Who can do the?
Oh.
Forget who can do it. Who is willing to do it? Across the spectrum.
To explain to the working people of this country about foreign capital and what's happening with the natural resources of this country. There are people who are willing to do it. There are people here who could do
Who
it.
have been doing it?
I don't know who I am interested in calling names.
No,
But if you go to
It's
the
one thing to say people, but who?
But I'm not in the business of calling names. I don't do that kind of work.
No, but you just call names. You just be calling names. You call David Hines' name, for example. You
Because,
call
no,
Sam
because
Hines' name.
Hines said
Because those are
no.
public commentators.
No, Hines talked about the foreign vote. Sam Hines, when he was in government, was pushing for foreign capital to take over
my
the foreign
question. My
service.
question is, who you think would be willing to go and speak on these issues that you feel the ordinary people need to understand?
Well,
whilst at the same time saying, they're really not interested in those things. All they're concerned about is their bread and butter.
They consume bread and butter, but they have an interest in those issues. These are the natural resources of this country that belong to the people of this country.
All right,
and it has to be explained to them.
All right.
What's happening
So,
with that.
is this the objective of your initiative? To go out there and to do this explanation?
And to see whether there is sufficient support for a new political organization. Yes.
So which
because these two parties have failed the working people in that regard.
the question is, which comes first? Are you going to go out there to do the explanations and in the process try to assess the support, or you go there, look for the support and say, look, okay, on this basis I will now...
No, the way we think about this thing, you have to put the ideas out there and to see what the response is and see if any or how many people are interested in what you're saying. And from then, you can put together a group to move forward. That would be the sequence. That would be the sequence.
What has prompted you, having been a civil society activist and commentator, might I say one of the more courageous ones, not willing to sacrifice your principle because somebody attacks you or doesn't attack you, or your views may not be popular. How do you move this forward?
Now you move forward this whole idea?
Yes.
By putting it out there and to see what response you get.
How you going to do
we're
it?
talking about it tonight, we talk about it tomorrow. We'll keep talking about these ideas we have and see if people are interested in this thing. And if all the people of this country are quite happy with the political parties they have, well, I will have to accept that position.
Now, because I don't want to get into resources, because this is going, I mean, you're a friend of Plain Talk. You've always been, and you're always welcome. But just Plain Talk is not going to cut it.
No, I know that.
Just a letter in the media is not going to cut it.
No. Well, you have to do political work. You have to do political work.
Political work means this is a big country.
Yeah, it is a big country.
You appreciate that.
Yes, it's a big country.
To traverse.
It's not an easy task, but we want to try it and see what the response is, if there's support out there for this idea.
Now, you say for this idea, of course, the idea of exploring for whether there's a need for a third kind of an alternative approach, because in this sense and in this context, you would put the APNU, AFC, and the PPP both in the same basket.
No, yes.
They subscribe to the same economic
thing, and
philosophy, if it can be called that.
Yes. And the corruption that takes place in this country and has taken place in this country and has been taking place for a long time is not confined to one party alone.
So corruption would be another review.
And this whole idea of giving away the natural, what really provokes me most of all is this idea that we can give away the resources of this country to foreign capital all the time, starting with Bosai and Rusal and Baishan Lane and ExxonMobil and so. That's what really gets me going all the time. This whole question that political leadership in this country, they believe they have the right to give away the resources of this country to foreign capital. And I'm saying to you, they don't have any such right. Where they think they get this right from? When we gave away the bauxite to Rusal, as far as I'm aware, Rusal got it for free. The Linden was given to Omai and I am gold for free. And I am gold sold it to the Chinese for 46 million US. And we got nothing out of it. This is all nonsense. The same thing we get with Baishan Lane all the time. The foreign capital coming here to exploit our people and our country all the time. And we have to stand up and we have to take a stand.
Well,
and this goes for ExxonMobil and all of them who come in here to rip us off on the oil resources.
You mentioned the community at Linden.
Yeah, 100 years of bauxite exploitation since Mackenzie came in 1917.
But Mr. Gaskin, the persons up there don't seem to find it unacceptable.
Is that right?
How are you? That is right.
You think they're quite happy with it? Well, if they're quite happy, what has happened to Linden after 100 years of exploitation of bauxite, bar the couple of years that the Burnham government had nationalized it, if they're quite happy with that model there, well, I'm happy for them. But I haven't seen the evidence that they're happy. That 100 years of exploitation...
Have you seen the evidence that they're not happy?
I haven't seen anybody in this country happy, maybe except you and me. I don't see anybody happy in this place. I don't see any. I talk to people all the time. I don't see happy people, happy faces.
No.
But this country has been exploited years, centuries. When you talk about bauxite, you talk in 1917, the 100 years.
So you're concerned about natural resources. You're concerned about corruption.
Corruption, and a lot of these deals are corrupt deals that we turn over the natural resources that belong to the people of this country to foreign capital that keep exploiting us all the time.
But surely one of the big issues in this country must be governance.
Oh yeah, the governance, what they call governance, but the whole problem of governance has to do with integrity and
it has
corruption.
to do with your constitution as well.
Oh yes, well
that's the fundamental
constitution.
Well, that's why I was
Anybody
wondering.
comment to that? Anybody wants to do serious constitutional reform? All the two parties are happy with the all-powerful president. If we had we would abolish it altogether, the executive presidency altogether.
You keep saying we. But
I said I would explain to you tonight what is the we when we say we.
Okay, well
Because
then.
I'm going to tell you what is we. And
But let's talk about this
I
constitution.
will tell you
first.
what is we.
Let's
just
talk about
now.
the constitution.
Needs
Because
serious,
that frames the governance.
It needs serious reform here and urgently. And right now we have the present government violating the constitution. The previous government was not big into constitution either.
And they violated the
They
constitution.
violated
as well.
the constitution.
Lots of the provisions in the constitution were dormant.
That's correct. So we have the previous government and the present government. I think their democratic credentials are weak, if existent at all. They're not interested in things. They're interested in occupying the reins of power and the seat of power and doing what they want to do. And as the man said, and the immortal words of the big man, they all want to have the good life, which indeed that's what they're getting. Whether the rest of the people getting the good life, I'm not sure about that.
You know, Ramon, if you say about the PPP and the APNU, AFC, PNC are not serious about constitutional reform, how do you get this country moving?
Yes, that's a good question. That's a good question. If the two big parties, the two of them don't want it. I think if the two of them don't want it, you ain't going to get it. It's not so easy. The struggle for constitutional reform ain't so easy if the two of them don't want it. They're quite happy with it. Of course, when they're in there, they always complain about the thing when they're in. And when they come outside, you don't hear them complain at all. For all the years that the PPP was around, there was a lot of talk about power sharing. We need to get a power sharing mechanism in the place. Now nobody talks about power sharing. Nobody talks about power sharing at all. But we need to have some change in the governance structure of this country where we could share power with the regions, with the center and the region. Not to share power between politicians, so all of them could get inside there and do what they want to do. Sharing power with the center and the regions, to give more power to the regions to look after the regions, which they don't have now. So I'm a big supporter of power sharing with the regions. I think the regions ought to have more power, and not more and more power, more revenue coming to them in a guaranteed fashion. Revenue must come to the regions so they can get the work done, and not coming to Georgetown and coming to the capital every day and all these pilgrimages
but
begging for money from the central government.
You have just indicated that if these two juggernauts don't want constitutional reform, it's not going to happen.
It's difficult. It's difficult. It's not easy. It's difficult. We see it all the time. We see it all the time since the 1980 Constitution, 37 years ago. I think there were 2 attempts at constitutional reform in the last 37 years, since the 1980 Constitution, which still remains, in my opinion, quite flawed and in need of very serious work. Very serious work. Starting with the all-powerful executive presidency. Starting there. I would start right there. Because that institution needs to be abolished altogether. The earlier the better.
Now, other problems, campaign financing. I mean, that's part of the root of your corruption.
Yeah, nobody wants to.
No, but
No,
if
they want
you
to
look
do
at it, if you look at it, this is the root of corruption because there's always payback time.
Yes.
If a political party takes money from the private sector, when they get elected, they got to remember
They-
who helped them get there.
That's correct. Mhm.
Now we're talking about the United Nations Convention
Convention
against
on
corruption.
yes.
But this is a central part.
But the private sector are not only giving the parties the political contributions during the campaign, you know. They have to keep giving.
Yes.
They have to keep giving. The system is based on that you have to keep giving all the time. Keep giving to keep getting. It doesn't like say, well, in many countries, of course, people do contribute to political parties. But not
at
here.
least with some accountability.
Not here. No, not here.
You have another situation. No political party is accountable even to its own members when it comes to financing. Not a single one of them.
That's correct.
In the history,
They don't.
whether it was Jagan and his small clique, whether it's Burnham and his clique, we have never had financial
And
accountability.
they won't do it. They're not going to do it.
Now,
They won't tell you where the money comes from.
if that is what sits at almost at the center
and that
of corruption,
and
how
that
do you
is-
get rid of corruption?
Well, because we
How
have
do you
to, we have
minimize
to
it?
create new political organizations to fight for a different type of politics, politics that is not corrupt, to fight for politics with some kind of integrity and decency and transparency. And it has to come from new people who know and believe and accept and can establish that these existing parties, many of them, and the leaders, are corrupt people. And they're in government to enrich themselves.
And the framework that they've set up is certainly not intended to reduce corruption.
No.
It may not be to become corrupt, but it certainly is not to reduce corruption. Now, another area I want to talk to you about, poverty and inequality in this country. Where does your... Are we going to get to your party just now?
Well, another party, a proprietary committee we're trying to set up
Preparatory committee.
to explore the feasibility of a new political group. But
That's something like Pence is talking about in the...
I don't know what Pence in America.
yeah.
Pence is talking about flooding tonight. The last time I heard him, but but we know the situation in Guyana. Outside of foreign capital, the outside of foreign capital, a small percentage of the population in this country, I would say 1%, 2%, own quite a large chunk of the assets of this country. Let's say about 2%.
I don't even think it needs to go that
that-
high.
that's
I'm
correct.
serious. I did an exercise
Yeah.
a couple of years ago. It is less than 1%.
But I'll say 1%. So you have a very large inequality in this country in terms of wealth and income. The income gap is very wide. I was reflecting about this today. Here you have in the Sahara, the new man there, the top man, is going to get $1.4 million a month, 20 times of the starting pay of a teacher and a nurse. The gap in earnings and wealth is very wide in this country, and this is in the private sector and in the public sector. But very few people in this country own a lot of it, and most of the people in this country don't.
How would you,
Oh,
assuming your group succeeds,
Oh.
how would it deal with this matter of income and wealth disparity and inequality?
well, you can start with the whole question of income. The government is the largest employer of labor in this country.
Yes.
You'll have to find a way to start pushing that up from the bottom, improving incomes from the bottom, and that would probably create a benchmark for even the private sector. You can start there. How much property they'll get, we don't know. But in terms of accumulation of property, a lot of the property in this country and wealth is accumulated because, to begin with, the non-payment of taxes. Over 40 billion, I think, in tax-free concessions given to these same people. You'll have to abolish all of that. There's no reason why few people should get concessions worth $40 billion a year out of the budget. It's criminal. I think it's out of order and it should stop.
I think we need to understand the composition
Of it.
of these tax concessions as well.
Yes.
I mean, for example, you have state entities, you have some of these remigrants you're talking about. They get concessions. They
A few remigrants, but even
the
remigrants.
business community. The business community. Remember, if they get, if even if they didn't get the concessions, they would have to pay the tax up front, and then they would get it as write-off as capital allowances.
Yes, yes.
So it's not that as though that they don't ever pay taxes.
No, they get the capital written off against the revenues and their allowances. But they get more than
And
that.
that's over a period of time.
Yeah, they get more than that. They get it up front too. They don't pay anything to bring all the stuff into the country. I know one company that bought 40 excavators
well, you said,
without paying a cent in duty and tax. And now that they couldn't pay a 5% or a 7% or a 10%, they paid nothing.
now, you said that you will start in the public service, maybe in the government service, I think was the word you used.
Yeah, at the bottom there.
How many decades is going to take to fix it?
Yeah.
If you have this serious structural and endemic problem, how come you're going to solve it?
You can't solve it in a day. It's not
No, I know.
solve in a day.
No, I know. But I'm suggesting you're using decades.
I know, not only decades. But first of all, you have to recognize the problem, that is a problem, and then you have to start dealing with it. It's not a decades thing. It's not a decades thing.
But you know, there are two forms of income. There's what we used to call in our old days earned income, and there's unearned income, the income you get from your investments and your shares.
Well, but I think that there's no dividends tax here as far
There's
as
no
that.
dividend?
There's no reason why you can't do certain things. There are a lot of things you can do. The dividend taxes in the developed countries, you can do a lot of things here. But I think the big billions here, you'll have to abolish all the duty-free racket. It's a duty-free racket that goes on all the time.
But
in this
that
country.
can't account for that 1% story. that
No.
you talk about.
There's a lot of things that count for that 1%, and that has accumulated over the years. That has accumulated over the years. How some of those people have achieved what they.
Look, I agree
over
with
the
you,
years.
and I'm saying this. I understand lots of these stores in Regent Street are now being paid in US dollars.
Yes.
And what bothers me, the authorities know about this. And
yes.
they're not doing it. That's unlawful.
Yes.
When these Cubans come and buy stuff,
Cuban buying in US.
They're buying in US, and that is unlawful.
You go Regent Street like I do, and you see the price there. There's a Guyana dollar price and there's a US price on this product. And the Cubans are going to buy it in US, and the Cubans are not going anymore to the cambio. A lot of the Chinese stores doing all that cambio work.
Well, I don't understand what kind of regulatory framework we have in this country. Surely the people know about it. Someone told me in the most graphic terms how it operates. And these are people in authority. And they're doing nothing about it.
They do nothing about it. No.
Now,
But you go to a lot of the stores in Regent Street, they don't charge you VAT and right bill and all. You just collect your stuff, pay the man and go.
well,
And see all of that.
we've spent a lot of time talking about some of the problems.
No.
Now, this initiative, who are involved, what is its short-term objective, what is its long-term objective? What can you tell us? And Raymond, please, you're free to invite people to Chrysler Labour College tomorrow.
Well, I'm hoping that they know that we're making this presentation tomorrow at Chrysler at 5 o'clock, and I hope they'll come and listen to what I have to say, and those who have questions, they can come and put the questions forward. But we want to explore this idea of a new political organization with a different ideological slant that is very concerned about what's happening to this country, and especially the poverty, the inequality, the gifting of the natural resources of this country to foreign capital. And we do believe that we need to develop an economy that is more highly planned and more disciplined. There needs to be more planning in this economy. National planning.
Planned economies are usually associated with socialist countries and even the communist countries. What kind of planning you're talking about?
We're talking about planning of the entire economy. Planning of the entire economy, say over the next 5 years or the next 10 years and so on. real strict planning of the entire economy, so that we can achieve what we want to achieve, which is to use the same language from those people, to develop an economy that satisfies needs of people. The Guyana Constitution speaks about it, and that language in the Guyana Constitution comes from the East, to satisfy needs of people. In order to satisfy needs of people, you have to do more planning. You have to plan the entire economy so that the needs of people can be satisfied. And those two guiding principles we would like to adopt.
Now,
very strong, strict planning, and strong state sector, strong planning in order to meet the needs of the people of this country.
so, you know, are you therefore rejecting the market-driven concept of an economy?
Of a capitalistic, we don't believe
I
that.
said market.
Well, the market, a lot of people talk about this market and this market. This market. In Guyana, we believe that it's not a market-driven economy here. There's no market-driven nothing here.
What do we have?
What we have is unplanned, unbridled capitalism and
Well,
anarchy.
it's a market, isn't it?
No, it's anarchy. It's people talk about market-driven. It's anarchy. It's anarchy of production. This is not a market. It's anarchy. And we talk about planning, a planned economy to satisfy needs of people. We would be interested in that. And in this planning, we will not allow foreign capital to exploit our resources and our people. Three things.
So if you're planning economy, now we've identified a number of problems. One of which is in income and wealth inequality. How does planning address that problem?
Well, as part of this plan, you're going to have in any revamping of this economy, serious tax reform to begin with. You have to have serious tax reform because I don't think we have any proper taxation system in this country, except for people who are taxed at PAYE and so on. But people who earn a lot of money, a lot of people who earn money a lot, do not pay their fair share. We have to deal with that. We have to get tax reform, among other things.
But the question is, how does so this planning you're talking about, is it planning to tax?
No, planned production, exports, imports, planning, total planning everything. Planning production, planning exports, planning imports, yes, planning everything, planning wages, planning everything.
So your system would be
Like what the Chinese planning.
you would have
To make it simple, like how the Chinese planning. The Chinese and the People's Republic of China, they have planning up there.
now People's Republic of China has that, but it's also buttressed by a system of party control, of control of the internet, it's control of what people can
You don't need
say.
you don't need party control of internet to do economic planning.
No.
You don't
All
need
I'm saying that's what takes
I
place
know
in
that,
China.
but the economic planning they do there, the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan.
So you're gonna take the economic model
of planning.
But whose model of human rights and freedom
Well,
of this? No, I'm
we have
asking
human
you.
rights here. We have the human rights entrenched in the Constitution here. You think you can take away human rights of Guyanese people here?
So you're saying
I don't think you
we'll
can
have
take
the
away-
Chinese economic model. but we'll
Economic
have the-
planning. Economic planning,
model.
yes.
Yes.
Economic planning model, yes. And in China, you have state enterprises and you also have private enterprises too, but you still have national planning of the economy and they know where they're going.
And the party dictates a lot of that. The party dictates a lot of that.
Hey, party does dictate too.
Or, no, but you said we have freedom here.
No. Party dictating here. The
Now-
Guyanese people have freedom. The ordinary Guyanese have a lot of freedom and rights enshrined in the Constitution, protected. But here, party does dictate things too.
Now, the we.
The we? Who is the we?
Yeah, what you want to say? about that?
who is it? Well, my father had asked me that many
Must be a
years
few
ago.
years ago, yeah.
Yes, because I told him that we defeated the Germans and the fascists in the Second World War.
As the British, yes.
Well, he think I was talking about Churchill. No, I was talking about Zhukov.
Anyway, let me get to this.
So I
We've
said,
just
no.
got 3 minutes.
Yeah. So that's the way. We when we talk about we talk about people who I would say I'm a part of the progressive left. I'm a left-wing person, generally speaking. I have a strong attachment to socialist ideas, and I make no apologies for that. And so when I say we, I mean we on the left. We in this.
Any names you're prepared to divulge or disclose at this stage?
On the proprietary committee?
Yes.
We'll get a name. We'll get a name.
No names of individuals.
No. We have no names. When we speak, we'll see who will. Then we'll know who interested. We don't know. I think Ram might be interested when he hears the whole thing. We don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see.
Ram retired from these issues at the age of 70. Ram makes that very clear.
Well, yes, I'm not
I,
retired.
I have.
I'm older than you are.
I want no elected office. I've always said that. Yes, I've said that.
But you don't have to run for elected office to be involved in this kind of work. You don't have to be. You don't have to be a candidate of anything. You don't have to be a candidate. But we need to put forward. This country is in a deep crisis, it's in a general crisis, as I say, and this crisis is manifested in the economy, in agriculture, in Gaisuko, in the sugar industry, in the health services.
How do you get around the same business of getting resources, as we said? The private sector does give to political parties, and it never appears in their books, and it never appears in the party's books.
But that's correct. So
we have a kind of accounting in this country
yes.
that defies all.
Oh no, we don't have a system of accounting. We have accountants that could do things like that. We have good accountants.
I haven't met any of them.
I met all of them.
Now, how are you going to
as a matter of fact,
money?
I met an accountant who could make a profit into a loss, and after he made a profit into a loss, I told him we need to make it into a profit. He said I can make it back into a profit, and they have that. Yeah.
I know that story. No. But how do you get resources to carry on this kind of?
We'll have to make appeals for resources to do work. If it is generally agreed that you need to go forward with this proprietary committee to have a political group, a new political group, we'll have to make appeals to people to help us. To support us financially.
I think we've got 30 seconds, and I'm giving you the 30 seconds to make your final appeal for your event tomorrow evening.
No, well, tomorrow at 5 o'clock at Critchlow, we want to speak about these ideas we have and to explore the possibility of creating inex political organization and to present our views to the electorate if there is sufficient support for that. There are a lot of small parties around. We believe it's a good thing. There should be many more small parties around. 10, 20, the more the merrier. And the people could have a choice other than these two parties who really, when you think about it, since independence, they failed us. The two big parties have failed us.
Let me just wish you well on your initiative. I think it's very courageous. As you said, we got into comparing ages. You're slightly older than I am.
Yeah.
It's quite a noble thing, and I wish you well.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
Good.
Operators and viewers, thank you. Good night, and I'll see you next week.